open to the evolution of my soul. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. My next step is here and now. So it is. So this week's talk, what does it mean to be spiritual? Well, I thought if I'm going to talk definition, I'd at least look it up. And I looked up the etymology of the word, and it turns out that it's from the Latin spiritualis, which means pertaining to the breath. The ancients thought the breath was sacred because they knew you couldn't really hold your breath very long without dying. That to keep this sacred life, you had to keep breathing. Now, what's really interesting about that is you move forward to the Middle Ages, and the meaning changes to pertaining to the church. Because the better they could get you to pertain to the church, the more money they could make and, get you feeling guilty and get you feeling all about that. So then it's all about the church. Started with the breath, came about the church. Then you go fast forward, and the meaning changes again to sacred acts. And so what we have here is, because since breath is what keeps us alive, I would consider it a sacred act. How about you? Everybody here still breathing? Spiritual. You're all very spiritual. The Hindus took that to another level because they made most of their practices, yoga actually means sacred breath. It's not about all the other movements, it's about the breath you're doing in those movements. If you ever do a really good yoga class, they're always saying, keep breathing. Keep your breathing constant. That's what matters. That's why the best yoga teachers say go to your edge. If it hurts too much where you can't keep your breath, can't smile, step it back so that you can. So what does it mean to be spiritual? It means being aware of your breath, being aware of your life, being aware of the sacredness of what it is to be in life. The funniest part about this is when I first realized that I had given this as a talk title, my first response was, I did? Why would I want to talk about that? Because how do you define spirituality? And I thought, well, since I did give that as a title, I might as well, explore it. And in my exploration of it, I realized throughout my life, I have gone through many different phases myself. Could you turn this up a little bit, please? Thank you. I have gone through many phases myself of what I thought spirituality was. I, like many people, were like, spirituality is something I do after work. Or I do it in the morning when, I'm meditating, and maybe I'll do it after work if I go to some sacred ritual, because that's certainly more sacred than work or anything else I'm doing in life. And then all of a sudden I start realizing that, wait a minute, spirituality is something I need to take into those other places in my life. And then went to even another step of actually spirituality is something that's happening all the time because we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, yes? Yeah, we are spiritual by the nature of existence. As somebody who is breathing. Now, why does that matter? It matters because it's so easy to get into a holier-than-thou place around this stuff, and I've been to other centers where they do that, where they actually talk about how different we are from the Catholics and the Protestants, and we're better because we somehow, own a spirituality that somehow they don't, and that's crazy. Especially when you look at the research that says that it doesn't even matter what religious community you are joined to, it will make you healthier than being in no religious community at all. Atheists do not live as long as religious people, no matter what the religion, on average. They're just not as healthy because there's something about a spiritual grounding, a spiritual nature of remembering, because it obviously exists all the time, that the simple act of remembering that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and then remembering that with others in community actually lifts our health. That those who are spiritual, who go sit in a cave by themselves, are not as healthy on average statistically as those who actually do it in community. And those in community who don't do spiritual stuff are more healthy than those who don't do community at all. So there's something spiritual in nature, whether they call it spiritual or not, about simply being in community, about being with others, about caring about your neighbor and feeling your neighbor caring about you. That there's something so sacred about that. And so what we're talking about here today, what I want to talk about here today, is how we bring that sacredness into our moments of our lives in terms of how we create community. Because the other thing about community is the more you create community, the more you have the possibility, the option, the chance to recognize the larger community, which then can recognize the larger community, which then can recognize that we actually are all one community. And in that, we start not seeing the differences, but maybe we can start seeing where we're the same. Now, I know how hard it must be to sometimes look at others, whether they be in our government or they be in Birmingham, Alabama, or any other place in the planet, and think, I'm not the same as this person. I'm completely different from them. I care about other people, and they don't. Well, the second you create separation is the second you forget who you really are. The second you think that somehow that person is better, worse, different in any other way, you have in that moment forgotten who you truly are, and certainly forgotten who they are. And so it is our job, it is our calling, it is our reason for being that we come here to remember. And the more we can remember, the more we open our hearts. The more we open our hearts, the better the chance that we come together. The better the chance that everyone gets healthier. You know, I think it's a great idea to look at a book that talks about the new Jim Crow, and I think using that and bringing that into prayer is even greater. Right? We want to open our eyes. I certainly do not want to be closed eyes to what's happening. Right? Right now in Venezuela, there's some really bad things going on. And when I was talking to Josu about that this morning, he says, I don't want to think about that. And I said, no, think about it a lot. But they can't use worry. You know, the energy of worry is incredibly unuseful. What they can use is our prayer. That they can actually use. That's why we pray for these cities. That's why we pray for each other. That's why we pray in community, because it actually has power. It has presence when we put it to work. You know, when we stand in that place of knowing that this physical world is not all that's going on. It may be all we see. It may be all we get involved with, but it is not the be-all, end-all of what's going on. What's going on is something greater than this. What's going on is your personal calling to rise to who you have come here to be. It is your personal calling that then we bring together as a group. We bring together as community, and we come and we go, yes, together we are even more powerful than separate, and in that we can bring together something that makes that we can open our eyes to and bring love to and bring prayer to. Because when we bring protest and separation and we say that this is different and this can't be, and then we think that somehow whatever's going on, because it looks like hate, it looks like, bad news, it looks like horrible stuff, we start thinking that somehow that's outside of God when it's not. Because nothing is. And so somehow we have to find our way through our spiritual practice to find a way to embrace that which we don't want to embrace. Paradox. But that's where the true power is. That's where real change happens, right? Gandhi wasn't kidding when he said, be the change you want to see in the world. And to be that change doesn't mean you stand aside and look away. It means you look straight at what is going on, the injustice that's going on, the murders, the violence, and everything. You look straight at and you go, no, in the face of this, I know that God still exists. God is right here. And somehow if I can get my focus there and be with a community of people where we get our focus in there and bring to it that sense of love, that sense of honor, that sense of sacredness of life, that somehow it must win and permeate. Which is why on the planet today, with everything, one of the most fascinating things in my study of history is that less than 1,000 years ago, you could be sitting in an inn. The person next to you could be killed, and you would just keep eating. It wouldn't even faze you. Less than 1,000 years ago. But today, if that happened, you'd be freaking out. That's change. That's sensibility. That's a rising sense of community and caring, even if the person next to you was a stranger. That's a difference. Do we have more to go? Absolutely. But perspective is key when we're looking at how progression happens. We are all very impatient because we have very short lives. We want to see everything happen before it's our turn to move on to whatever comes next. But that impatience doesn't help. I mean, and you know that in your own personal life. When you bring impatience to anything you're doing, does it work out better or worse? So impatience doesn't actually work. And people may say, well, I'm impatient because it's been 300 years and it's been 500 years. And we need to see these change happen now. I don't want to wait another generation for this change. And I'm here to tell you that impatience actually makes things go longer because it doesn't work. And you know that through anything you try to do for yourself, that if you bring impatience to it, something screws up, something gets worse. Am I making this up? All right. So impatience doesn't work. So what we need to do is not, and I'm not in favor of patience. The thing that I speak about is trust. We have to trust in that there is a higher self, a higher power, a higher presence, a higher essence that is absolutely continually nudging humanity forward and has for thousands upon thousands of years and has not given up on us and keeps nudging us forward. There are more people today on the planet who understand that there is a higher power and love than ever before in the history of mankind. There is more people on the planet today as a percentage, not just because there's more people, but as a percentage, who believe in the goodness of man, who believe in the goodness of humanity than ever before, who believe in a higher spirit, who believe that coming together is worthwhile than ever before on the planet. We are nudging forward. Progress is being made. And it happens even faster when we trust in it, as opposed to being impatient around it. Trust is key to our humanity rising. Knowing that that is what we're doing here. Knowing that that's what's possible. There is something magnificent going on this planet right now. It is in the second civil rights movement. It is in Black Matters. It is in the Me Too movement. It's in the kids in Parkland. It's in the kids who are standing up all around. We have a generation coming forward that is the most socially conscious group of kids that I have seen in my lifetime. I mean, this is incredible stuff that's happening, and we are a part of it. So don't be impatient. Be in trust. Know that this is all moving forward. See it for your own life, and remember that it is your job. It is our job. It is each of us' job to be that change in which we want to see. Not just act to get others to change, but to be it. And being in love feels fantastic, and being in love is what makes the world grow. Then we're listening to that nudge, and then real change happens. Thank you. I love you. All right. This is where we pray for somebody. Who's coming up? Come on, don't be shy. The power of prayer is here for anyone who's willing to stand up here and receive it. Let's see a hand go up. Come on. Alan. Alan, I'm coming to you. Sorry? I'm coming over here. You just stay right there. All right. What do you want us to pray for?
Everything.
Everything. I need 8 to 10 folks right here, right now. All right. And for the rest of you, what we're going to do is get comfortable, close your eyes, and relax. And as always, we start within our own hearts, knowing the power and presence of healing within our hearts. And now reaching out, feeling it through our whole bodies, reaching out further until we feel it as a community. This healing, loving presence, filling this room and now showering into Alan. Health, well-being, vitality. Know for Alan his well-being, the magnificence of his life. We as a group have power. And this power right here and right now flows through Alan. Know the truth for him, that he is healthy, he is well, he is healed, that his life shines with magnificence. And I am so grateful for the power, for the presence that we are as a community, for the spiritual magnificence we bring forth to support each other's lives, for the healing that we all get to experience through Alan as he experiences his right here, right now. And I release this knowing it to be so, as we all say together. And so it is. All right. All right. It's that time of the program where you take out what you're going to give and hold it in your hand. Unfold it. Unfold it. Doesn't matter whether it's $1, $10, $20, $100. Deeds of property, gold mines, diamonds, whatever it is, hold it in your hand. Knowing the power and presence as we say our affirmation together, God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What we give, we receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.